All right, it is 7:12. I call this meeting.
Or the old.
Public meeting.
No, it's a public meeting.
Yep. It is 7:12. I call this meeting of the school board.
Come right around here, John.
I'll come over here.
So our only agenda.
Yeah, come.
Yeah, please. Where did Christopher go?
Daddy.
So our only agenda item at the moment is to discuss Article 9. As was previously hearing. So, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to keep Article 9. I second it.
Any discussion?
I'm your
The way, did we add in the language that Matt had proposed about permanently relinquish? Oh, okay. So
Yep, the only thing.
I didn't get that in, because I was.
Sorry.
What we do by moving it, keeping it on the warrant is we let people, we get a feel for where people are at. And if there's a strong vote to not close it, then we've already said that we're going to do the trial of moving the preschool down. And we do that next year, and then we have data and information. And we know specifically, we'll have more information. Which is back to the next year and say, okay, we did it this year. And then we have now had 2 years of trial with the well, a full school year plus of the trial of the restructuring. And this is what it would look like. Then we would be able to, some of the questions that they had in terms of what is the actual, if you're talking about somewhat cost, what is the actual cost? Per pupil if we did A, B, or C, and so we would be able to give them that information, and be able to forward. And if the vote is to go ahead and close it now, then we would just move forward.
Yeah, and the only thing that I learned from was basically that the trustees don't really know what they would do if they get it back. And to that note, I was going to suggest, but I don't want to, I don't want to speak out of turn here. But to me, it's like, we have a leaf school, charter school in Alstead that's bursting at the seams. And would love to be able to move into another building like that and expand. And it's like, that could be a win-win.
So my question for that is, and maybe that's what you're just gonna answer, is if we have a relationship with Leaf and they come and rent our building, does that continue to be a district building? And we accept the revenue from it?
If you own it and you're leasing it and the trustees are comfortable with it for an educational purpose, then sure.
And right now, I think the district actually, I don't know if they still do, but 2 years ago, we were doing busing for them.
You have to, we have to, yeah.
And
It doesn't, the thing about the deed is it just talks about educational purpose.
Right.
Obviously, a charter school would be an educational purpose. It's a private educational purpose, but it's still an educational.
Charter school is a public school.
I think.
Well, it's this weird combination of private and they get funded by the
But
state.
the point was that when Lori Landry was our superintendent, I think she was even looking at trying to do something like that right on campus.
There's something I just mentioned to one of the trustees, and that
You
is
can say Albert, everybody knows.
Albert, Dr. Albert.
Yeah.
Is, I know that Claremont has got a special education program.
We had one.
They're operating out of the Sugar River. They're operating out of Sugar River.
I left.
And I think they would like the space to maybe do that. So there's also the possibility.
I think, I don't think that school will be, if we decide to close it, I think that there are options where that building could continue to be a school.
Yes, Shelley.
So I don't want to get bogged down into the discussion that really has, I don't feel that that's the board's preview to find out what the trustees is going to do with that. I think what we are doing and what we're saying is academically, it makes sense to bring those kids back to the primary. What does the town of Charlestown want to do with that building? for me as a
The
school
voters of
board.
Charlestown, we need to be very
Right,
clear.
the voters of Charlestown, for a school board member or for any of us to spend any length of time trying to figure out what the trustees is gonna do with it. If it goes to the town, what's the town gonna do with it? It's really, for us, it's irrelevant. What we're
No, you're right.
deciding is it in the best interest of the kiddos to go back to the primary? And does the district have any immediate plans for that building? If not, then it doesn't make any sense to keep it open. We
Yeah.
cannot continue to operate with 11 buildings. Can't do that. I do like the idea of leaf charter, but that's also something.
That's outside of the.
Yep, that's something that the
would be
trustees could
Something
do.
that I would do
Or
on.
us, if they
on
vote
my own.
no.
I'd go
Well-
talk to them, and I didn't know that Albert was a trustee, because I'll mention it to him, because I actually know him.
Because
Well, I've
this
had
is,
this conversation.
this is just
so-
about the
You might
warrant.
know him too.
This is just
Yeah,
about
I know him too.
this staying on the warrant.
That's
And
what-
and I appreciate everybody's questions about what's being done to the building, and I'm not gonna vote because I don't know what's being, well,
It
that's
is a
your,
catch-22.
that's your choice. But I think, as of right now, I think it needs to stay on the warrant. I think it needs to go to Charlestown
I-
voters.
And I'd just like to say that I think that Mr. Young put together a tremendous plan, but looking at the way he's utilizing that school is.
They're talking
the way we
about
want
you.
all of our
Ears are
schools
ringing.
to do.
Oh, is that- I thought I'd let you know, just think.
No, I didn't, he paid me to say that.
No, I agree with you, 100%. And that ties right into the facilities committee that we need to put in place at our very next meeting so that we can say, okay, here is our plan. We have heard the people. We are following it through. It is in writing. And here's how we're going to do it and continue
Yeah.
forward. So all of those things do go together. I have some serious concerns putting this on because simply because there are not enough people who have become informed and would just vote no, whereas the people who are passionate are so outnumbered. And
Yeah,
so
That's,
I do hesitate to put it on and not be able to get it back. And I will go with whatever the board decides. I fully support the rest of you. I drive by it 15 times a day, and so it is very personal to me.
did you go there?
Yep. Well, to the old part.
Oh, the old part.
And then when they talk about moving to North Walpole, my father absolutely refused to send me 15 miles to North Walpole.
I went to North Walpole
It was only 7 miles.
and
But it was
Oh, from
15
your
for
house.
me. I
Oh,
live
yeah.
on.
I went to North Walpole and I loved that school. And my parents will always say that was probably the best school in the district that I ever went to. I was the happiest. So you wanna know why? Cause it was on the right side of the tracks. Which is where I was brought up, right in town. So, like I said, I don't wanna get caught up on we're losing a building, we're not losing a building. And that's why I kept trying to say or wanted to try to assure people that everybody understands the importance of that building. Whether you're on the school board, whether you're a resident of North Charlestown, many residents of Charlestown realize the importance of that building. And I think there should be some assurances that that building is not gonna fall to the wayside. It's gonna become another meaningful asset to North Charlestown in a manner it hasn't been used. So you have the Grange right next door and.
The lady who was speaking next to Jen lives in the Grange building.
And
so
that's,
she
per-
understands
yeah,
that.
and that's perfect, because, it's being recycled. And it's gonna bring about, it's gonna bring about another historical piece to it, but I don't wanna get wrapped up into it, cause then I just think you get into the emotional thing, and then you don't really think clearly. Parents
Which is
like,
why I said I would support all of you, because I.
yeah, like
Far too
parents,
emotionally
parents
invested.
being emotionally upset because their kids are gonna be 10 feet away from the Connecticut River when driving to North Walpole, and all of us were perfectly fine. But it was a needed expansion for the primary school. Maybe we stayed a little bit longer, but that's because we liked it, because it's on the right
Right.
side of the track.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So did the language did the language change to the agreement that would still allow us to do a trial?
I
If
just,
we didn't
I talked
put
with
this
him,
on the-
Albert said if, and I think David indicated too,
They're not.
this creates a whole bunch of issues for the trust. They lost their 501(c)(3) status a while ago because of they didn't file because they didn't have property they needed to file for. So they would have to generate new tax-free status, or they would have to find a use that they could put into the building that would qualify for tax exempt status from. at
Or
least
something that
property tax.
provides them rent.
Yeah.
Or
Or
provide
become
them
a
enough
for-profit.
rent to be able to pay both the real estate taxes and the cost of operations. Because it depends on the use going in, whether it would be subject to taxation by the town. So all these, it gets very complicated, and the reason I know this, my wife runs a childcare center. That
Should
we
we
still,
trust them?
that we, with 300 kids.
It might fit.
And,
Pretty close.
very close, 300
Tree
kids,
houses.
but we have to constantly watch to make sure that we don't run into
Yeah.
real estate taxes, so that we operate it under my father-in-law's church, so that we can keep it under the umbrella of the church. So I deal with these things all the time, and I've dealt with them because I do towns and cities as well. Tax exemption from real estate tax is a big deal.
It is.
It's a big
Yes.
deal.
Mhm.
That building is probably worth, I'm willing to bet north of 3 million.
More than that, I think it was, if you look at what was the insured valuation? Oh. Five or
So,
six,
Right down the street
I
is
think
the,
so. I think it's more
the
than that.
SCA property.
Yeah.
And at one point, they, for whatever reason, forgot to file
Yeah.
and owed the town of Charlestown $45,000.
Yeah.
It's a significant,
True story.
That's just one, that's one.
True story.
And so what you're probably looking at that building, even if it's 5 million, it's probably $100,000 a year in taxes.
Yeah.
And that's a
That's a big check.
big check. A big check, and you try to talk about putting in a charter school
Yeah.
where the rent is gonna start at 100,000.
Yeah, there's no way
You know,
that's gonna work.
So what I guess from talking with them is they would work with us. If we ended up in a short-term period where we were evaluating, like say they vote no. And we decide we're gonna move the preschool down there, we're gonna spend $25,000 just keeping the heat on, keeping the building, secure. And at the end of the trial period, we say, this works. I think at that point, we would go back to the voters again and say, well, it worked, do you wanna close it now?
Or if they do vote yes, I'm sure that we would work with the trustees.
That's the other thing I talked to the trustees about, or Albert, David was right there, but you could, even if they vote yes, we can take a year to kind of figure this out while where they don't invoke the inverter or the reverter until they're ready. And that would be seamless. They would invoke that.
So there'd be
We would
a
give them
year
a quick clean
to
deed.
plan.
We'd give them a quick clean deed. They would revert back to them. They would instantaneously already have worked it out with the town as for taxability. The uses would go in place and it would be seamless.
I think that makes me feel better
yeah.
moving forward. If there was a yes, it's not like it's getting dumped on the trustees. We can work with them. We can maybe even help them find some
Right.
some
I'd be
possibilities.
willing to do that on my own time, because I know all of these people that.
Right.
Well,
the lease.
We have to do it as a.
Well, no, I mean, just as
Right.
try to get the two parties together to
Yeah.
figure out what they need to do.
And I do agree with you. Your issue, and I almost said it here, the issue here is really not what's gonna happen afterwards. It's, do you wanna close it or not? If you want, there's too many what ifs about what happens after you close it. But for a lot of people, their vote may be influenced one way or another by what it's gonna be used for after the fact, because they feel like they own it now.
Well, I can relate, the people speaking here can see that building from their homes.
That's right.
And so this is huge for them.
Yeah.
This is their neighbor. This
Yeah.
is like, oh, if you're gonna sell it to a junkyard, do I want a junkyard coming in? And my yes vote means, yes, I'm
But-
getting a junkyard. So
but-
being able to offer some sort of comfort, I think we owe it to them.
But your
But the
comfort's
tr-
only a year.
But the
Right.
trustees are their neighbors as well, and that's what I was trying to get at, like. The trustees are your neighbors,
Or your family.
or your family, I didn't want to,
Jake would be in.
listen, I didn't want to make
So
didn't
there was
wanna
no
make-
way that was going to be.
Here's my question.
Understood.
If they truly wanted the school district to be in charge of it and take care of it forever, then why did they not just gift it completely? Which they didn't do.
Because as David said, they were worried
They
about.
did not trust the school district.
You know, one of the
There's a
options,
lot of
you-
issues with
one of the
We're so
options.
untrusted. all
I
the
know,
time.
I would like.
Well, that was
to
60
change.
years ago, so hey.
It's like everybody I've ever been on,
Yep.
as the select board announced that we were.
Which isn't even funny, because half of the people were on,
School board member.
your father was a school board member forever.
Well,
There were
they said,
several
"Show
in
us."
this room. But I think all of us are working really
Yeah,
hard
no,
to
I know.
be open and transparent and answer the questions and rebuild that trust.
So
And
even if
so-
it reverted back, here's my legal question, I wanna,
Okay.
even if the vote set goes, yes, we wanna
Yeah.
close it, we
Yeah.
don't wanna do this anymore.
Yeah.
And they get it back.
Yeah.
They could at that point in time say, could they not say, no, we're gonna gift it completely to you because we have no use for it? Okay,
They could turn around and, or what they would probably do is just renounce the reverting provision.
okay.
But the problem is at that point, if it's a school
We get it
district
back,
asset
yes.
and you permanently closed it, it's gonna go to the town. Period.
Right.
That's what the statute says.
Which personally, I think that would make a beautiful historical society, but that's just me. But anyways, like I said, I
Do you have a
really,
rec center?
no, no, I absolutely do not think it should be a rec center. It's a
There's no
historical
way to get
building.
kids there.
Yeah, maybe.
There's not enough
maybe
kids in the
too far
village.
away.
You know, one of your
buses
options
go-
is not,
There every day.
it's, you can achieve the budgetary. Almost all the budgetary goals by still keeping it and mothballing it or transferring the kids down there. While you work out a plan with the trustees so that we know what's gonna happen.
Cause you said Claremont's looking for,
But even if we said, yes, we have a year.
Yeah.
We don't have to sit on it for another year to put it on the warrant. We could do it this year. If they say yes, then we have a year to work it out.
You do.
but if
So-
it was Leaf or Claremont, those are both nonprofits.
It depends, it's not about the status of the tenant, it's about the use. As to whether it's tax exempt, real estate tax exempt. This is the big thing
But
that
Leaf
people.
is a 501c3. That's
So
why.
the 501c3 doesn't automatically get you,
Taxation.
get you the real estate taxation.
We did that
exemption.
with the Orchard School, because we had 501c3 for the Orchard School for the business. And then we discovered that we had to do it also, we had to do a different thing for the building, because the Orchard School was part
Right.
of the whole farm.
Yeah.
So they actually had to sell, they broke it, they subdivided it, and then they did some other thing with.
So
These are
typically,
some
if it's
things
a
that-
charitable organization
Yeah.
and you want to claim a charitable exemption from real estate taxes, you have to be providing a charitable benefit to the people within the town.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
We're off
All right,
track.
Okay, so
let's
I-
stay on
You're
this
ready.
report. I move the question.
I have one thing. I have
Relevant
say
to my
first.
vote. That was relevant to my vote. Sorry.
So my understanding is we could take it off of this warrant. Still move the preschool on a trial basis.
Yep.
Still go with the budgetary constraints that we have for a year.
Yep.
And then bring it back to the voters next year.
She already got a motion on the table to leave it.
I'm telling you,
She motioned it and
if you were
seconded it.
to, if you were to pull this off, if you were to pull this off this year and put it back on next year, they're gonna be even more upset. They're gonna be even more upset, because what they're gonna do is they're gonna be like, you just put it off a year, that's all you did. You took our kids, you put them down there anyways, you did nothing for a year, and now you're putting it back on.
But we've said it would be a trial. And so that would say, okay, we really mean that it is a trial. And here's what the results of the trial were. We found that it was good. Now we're gonna ask you to close it because it was good, or we're gonna move back because it's not.
You motioned it, right?
And
And I had a second.
Was there a second?
Yes, there is. So we're just having a discussion about the initial motion to keep it on the agenda,
warrant.
the warrant.
Call
Thank
the
you.
vote.
Okay. I think we should do it a roll call vote,
Okay,
just so that it's clear.
Shelley,
Yes.
Kevin,
Kevin, yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jamie,
With a heavy heart, I'll say yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Alyssa, no. And with that, the motion passes and Article 9 will go on the warrant with one small change. It is the North Charleston Community School, not the North
Right.
Charleston Elementary School.
Just make sure that, Misty makes that adjustment on the warrant.
Do we now need to vote? Do we now need to put, we voted on this article. Do we now need to do this in support of the thing?
No, that's what, that
It's
is.
not a money article.
It's not a money
Okay,
article.
you don't have to.
So we had one absent. One no. You don't need to put that on there.
You don't need,
It's
it's not,
just-
it's not a
it's
money
just a-
article, so you don't have to make
Oh,
a
okay.
recommendation.
It should go in the minutes though.
You could.
Should do it on-
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yes. 5 yes, 1 no, 1 absent. Who's absent? Ken.
So let's see what the vote is. Either way, I can talk with Albert and David about what happens. And I just want to get their assurances if the vote is no, that us moving it temporarily, I don't think it will. They'll understand that it's a trial period. Because you will have heard from the voters that they don't want to get rid of the school.
Well, then we'll have decisions to make.
We heard from a few voters that they don't want to get rid of the school.
No, but with the.
No, I mean
when
the
it
vote, if the
goes,
vote
vote
was no.
comes.
Oh, okay.
we'll know the direction of.
Yeah.
And again, what I said holds true. It's not just the will of North Charleston. It has to be the will of all of
Yeah,
Charleston.
that's what this.
Well, and I think that this is a discussion that's gonna go to other towns, and so it's important for us to kind of find out what all the steps are and where.
And I do
I'll
think
tell you,
that
when you
if
bring
they,
this to Ackworth, it's gonna be.
if they vote no, then we don't put it back on next year.
No.
We move
Figure out
on
what to do.
to what to do with this building long-term
Right.
educational wise.
Education.
It gives us it's gonna be a very abrupt yes, no. And then we do have a year to work with the trustees, either way,
Right.
either way.
Yeah, you may decide if the
Because they
answer,
can vote to change
if the
the.
vote is no. You may still decide that when you do the child care, that this is the only thing to do, we have to do this. Then maybe what you do is you work out a plan with the trustees so that we have tenants lined up, everybody knows what the deal is.
Right.
Everybody's behind it, in support of it, and then
They
you
can
put.
change
my own
the, they can
I'm all
change
about
the.
If something happens crazy
But
weather.
they do, the only thing it
I
does is.
Zoom into the workshop on Monday.
No, if there's a.
I won't be there.
that we make
yeah.
changes.
So yes, you can absolutely
change.
zoom in. It's wonderful idea. I'm going to my daughter's basketball, and that's gonna be right here.
They can just relinquish the voting right.
Do I have a
Not
second?
in the middle school, she's in
I'll
sixth
second
grade.
it.
All right, all in favor, please.
Trying to change
Next year
the
she'll
language
fly.
of Hopkinton education.
Yes.
properly.
In favor?
Hey, she only
yes,
has a size 11 and a half.
Thank you, bye. I'm like,
Bye.